How can frontline leaders coach for success, even in difficult business conditions? I'm Greg Schinkel, President of Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems, and we need to look at the difference when you're a leader in difficult business conditions versus when everything is really going super well. And so the myth is that frontline leaders have all the answers that they need even in tough business conditions. And I'd say most of the time in your company, things are probably going fairly well. And leading when things are going fairly well comes with its own stresses in terms of material availability and can we actually ship all the work that we have ahead of us? And sometimes even do we have enough manpower or labor to achieve our production results? But when things start to soften in business conditions and now the leader has to deal with cutbacks and restructuring the department's work because of lower volumes, well, that requires a different skill set and also a different mindset so that they can stay positive during that time. So of course, the fact is that people don't have all the answers that they need just automatically just because they've been a supervisor for a while. And so we think that helping the supervisors interact with one another and sharing best practices can really help them be better in terms of providing that coaching during difficult times. So I believe that every supervisor, every frontline leader essentially goes through several rites of passage in terms of being a leader. It's one thing to have good times and you're busy trying to make your production numbers, but when it's difficult, some of the things you'll have to deal with is possibly announcing a layoff or cutting back. You may have to move people to jobs that they don't like. You might find that you actually have to terminate some people. So those are the sort of the less positive things that a leader needs to do, and yet it is still something that many leaders need to experience so that they can handle these situations in good times and in bad. So I've got a few tips for how we can help frontline leaders coach for success even in difficult times. Tip number one is to stay calm. Now, this is for you to stay calm because calm is contagious. And when you're freaking out, it makes it really difficult for other people to sort of stay calm and process what's going on. So remember, you got this, and tough times don't last forever. They might last weeks or months. Occasionally it might last almost a year, but then business conditions start to improve and change. So it's really about staying calm when business slows down and maybe even got that sense of panic in your own self, let alone your team being a little worried about their job security. Tip number two is to stay positive and yet at the same time realistic. So you want to convey to your team, like, we can do this, we got this, and that doesn't mean that you artificially say something that isn't true. You have to acknowledge what's going on right now, but you could also say, you know what, especially if you've been through other business downturns before, you can say, look, these things do happen. This happened to me, 10 years ago or 6 years ago, and we came through that, and I'm convinced that we'll come through it here. But it's not going to be easy in the short run. So, you want to convey that sense that, you know what, it's probably going to turn out okay, because it usually does. But be realistic and don't overpromise how quickly things might turn around. The third tip is to challenge, ask, and implement. Now, we've talked about involving employees and other leader feeders, but you really want those team members to get a sense like, hey, we've got to figure out how to do this based on our current business volume. We have to figure out how 3 of us can do the work that usually 5 of us would have done. And although there'll be a little bit of grumbling, at least you're asking them, how could we lay out the different jobs that we have to get done and just cover things while the business volume is softer, knowing that when it ramps back up, we'll probably be adding additional resources. We always think that employees don't want to contribute to those kinds of problems. They just want management to tell them what to do. But really, everyone likes to be asked, hey, how could we make this happen with fewer resources if things are a little tougher? So those 3 tips, staying calm, staying positive but realistic, and then challenging, asking, and implementing the ideas of the employees can help you weather the tough times. And that can help frontline leaderships coach for success in these difficult situations. Now, once you've, of course, managed that, you'll realize that leadership strength is really a key asset for your business in the long run, and that's where our Frontline Leadership program comes in. Whether you have us deliver it on site, or you just have us do it virtually from our studio, or even send 1 or 2 people to our public workshops, or now you even have the choice of sending them or enrolling them in the Frontline Leadership On Demand program, where the learning is delivered right to their device, whether it's a laptop, desktop, or telephone, or their mobile phone. Now, all of it, of course, begins by connecting with our team to discuss some of your needs and see how some of the solutions might help your organization. And you can do that through our website at uniquedevelopment.com. Our team is really aligned with providing the solutions that you need to drive leadership excellence, and that will drive operational excellence.